That was Alex Plox from his new Cosmic Cruise album. Alex, as you know, has been a member, good God, of the God of War for a very long time. This is his brand new album. He does amazing, wonderful music. He says to me, he said, that's a song called No Exit off the album. He says, Jaffe, don't play that. Play all the other songs. I said, why? He says, well, because Next Exit is, it's good, but it's really creepy and slow. And I'm like, no, it's September. It's September. It is time for the Halloween. It is time for, I know Halloween's next month, but you have to understand, we are rapidly approaching the time of year where the barrier that protects humanity betwixt the dead and the living is at the thinnest possible depth, I guess, that it can be. And on Halloween night, that's why we see weird and spooky and strange shit. I could also just be excited that I'm going to Universal Halloween Horror Nights for the first time. We got tickets yesterday. I'm very much looking forward to that in a couple of weeks. I've never been before. I'm sure the haunts are just like typical haunts with a little bit more budget, but I want to see the sets, and I want to ride the rides, and I want to kick off the Halloween season. So anyway, welcome to Gabbin+Games. Thank you, Alex Blocks, for that great new song to kick off the show for the Halloween spooky season. That is Next Exit. Moloch says he feels the change in the air already. We don't really get that here in San Diego for the most part. We get it. We get it. You know, you start to feel it a little bit in October, but not much. Not much. So I miss it for sure. I have this dream one day. Here's my dream. We're gonna get into video games. There's a lot to talk about today, but I want to tell you my dream real quick. My dream one day is to find the next Mrs. Jaffe who loves Halloween and horror as much as I do. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm not ready to look seriously right now, but shouldn't be too hard. In the sense that there's a lot of ladies who like the Halloween, is what I'm saying. And go up to Salem on the East Coast, not Oregon, where the witch trials were, because that town apparently loses its shit during the Halloween season. And they have a crazy Halloween party and Halloween parades, and they have all these crazy fucking museums. I'm down, man. I can't wait. That's like my 56th birthday gift to myself. But you know, I'm not there yet. Fuck you. You make me laugh. I hate this guy. Hello, Ace. Would you go? My dog just came in. Fuck you, motherfucker. You make me laugh is such a troll. I really should just ignore him. But I don't, because he gives me content and I don't have to pay him for it. Welcome to Gabbin+Games, fellas, for Tuesday, August, September 6th, 7th. I don't know what the fuck it is. So let us begin, as we always do, talking about the news of the day. So I want to tell you, I've gotten back into Elden Ring. I didn't. Jalapeno Milk says, Jaffe, how are women not falling over themselves to court you? I didn't say they weren't. What I'm saying, though, is right now, given certain things that are occurring in my experience, it's not the time to sort of be serious. Adam says, would you ever visit the real Conjuring house? Sure. I mean, I don't believe in any of it. I would love to believe in that stuff. I would love to believe that shit is true, but it's not like I'm afraid of any of that shit. Hell, if I saw Ghost, are you kidding me? I'd go up to him and start talking to him. I'm like, oh my God, can you send a message to my parents or some such shit? I want to talk to Lincoln, you know, come on now. But anyway, so I've really gotten back into Elden Ring. I finished up a bunch of games that were kind of out at the beginning of September, and I'm like, I got to get back to this game. And I'm back in love with it. I finally just, you know, Mr. K sent me a YouTube video, and he's like, this is where you can find all the larval tears, whatever the fuck they're called, that let you respec all your shit. Because I respected it the first time I found that lady, and I totally fucked my character up. So I did that, and now I'm kind of back into it with a vengeance. The one thing I will say that is really interesting, and I don't think there needs to be some rule or anything, but I can tell you that I have been very happy about the fact that there seems to be a universal language of controllers amongst most mainstream games. So reload is always the same button. I forget if it's circle or, well, it depends what controller you're using. You know, obviously fire, aim down sights, blah, blah, blah. And then, but there's some games I was playing, you know, Elden Ring being one of them. I was talking to someone about Twisted Metal controls, and I was playing, somebody recommended me Matterfall, which is fucking awesome, which was a PS4 game. You can get it on PS Plus if you're one of the tiers, I forget which one, from Housemarque. and how it has the strangest fucking control scheme, and that you're using the shoulder buttons to jump, and it's a twin stick shooter, so it makes sense that you would do that. But the game itself is not top down. It's a side scrolling kind of platform. Contra meets twin stick shooter. Kind of like, it's not like All-Star Heroes from on the Genesis, but it's kind of got that vibe. But it's cooler than that, I think. And I'm playing that. I'm talking about Twisted Metal controls, and I'm playing a lot in Elden Ring. And I'm like, my God, the muscle memory required and maybe it's an age thing, I'm sure that doesn't help it, but every time I get back into a game that isn't using kind of the agreed upon language of video games, you really have to spend it's a barrier, right? And I can live with it, but it's a barrier. And I did get to wondering, if I were to make another Twisted Metal or any game, would we, I was always very stubborn about the controls. Even when we were making the 2012 Twisted Metal, I was always like, no, we're going to do it the way, it's a shooter before it's a driver. So everyone's like, oh, Halo's redefined where the gas goes. I don't know if you remember that, but Halo and Bizarre Creations did another game on the Xbox 360 that also kind of pushed the idea of the shoulder buttons being gas and brake. Before that, it was X and circle and square. And I was like, no, because up here is where we want to shoot, down here is where we want to drive. And I would have to assume we probably lost 30% of people when they played the demo, because I did not say, yeah, the core game may not be as good with those default controls, but that's what people are used to, and they can pick it up and they can just start going. So I don't know what I would do at this point. I would have to imagine, I would hope that I've become smart enough that I would put the audience a little bit more first than my own design sensibilities, because I think that barrier just fucking pushes people away. Yeah, Project Gotham Racing Mutant Mode, that's what it was called. Absolutely. Okay. But anyway, it is what it is, but it's good. Matterfall is great. Obviously, Elden Ring, I've made it up to the Snowy Mountains. I've respect. I'm starting to get where I need to be, but I don't know if I'll ever finish it, but I sure do hope I do. Okay. Let us get to the video game conversations of the day. As a reminder, you can hit me up on the Discord and call in live. I don't know if I'm turning on the red phone today. I might. You never fucking know. Or you can just hit me up on the chat. I check the chat periodically, depending on the time of the show, and I also respond to the chat when I get a super chat. But I'm always keeping an eye on it, right? So hang on. John, we're going to talk about God of War Ragnarok and the Game Informer content. I don't think it was a terrible decision, but we'll get to that in just a second. I do want to let you know one real quick thing. And we are also Brett Williams talking about Silent Hill. If you remember, even if you're not, this Sunday at 4 o'clock California time, we are doing the very first Gabbin+Games Dungeons and Dragons live stream. It will be me, 1 second. Yes, boy.
Trying to get a hold of you.
Tell her I'm streaming. Is it an emergency? Can you ask her if it's cool? It'll be me. It'll be a professional dungeon master I've hired. Somebody yesterday hit me up and said, there's no such thing as professional dungeon masters. I'm like, yes, there are, because this guy gets paid for it. It'll be me, a professional dungeon master, and 4 members of Gabbin+Games. If you want to sign up to play, it'll be live streamed out to everybody who wants to watch. But if you want to play, we're having a sign-up page right now in the Dungeons and Dragons channel on the Gabbin+Games Discord. The higher tier member takes priority. I'm going to make a decision late tonight or tomorrow morning of who the party is based on who has signed up and expressed interest and where they sit on the tier. So if you're ever thinking about subscribing, becoming a member, and you like the D&D, I've never played before. You don't have to have any experience. You're coming to it with characters that you roll by, that he's going to roll, the DM is going to roll. He said all you need to do is pick a race, and I got a link for you over on the Discord, and you need to pick a class. And he says he'll do the rest to guarantee we have a good first experience, right? So later, we will, if we like it and we have a good time, we'll do a more serious campaign where we roll our own characters and all that shit. But that's coming up. Also, one last thing before we get to the news. Tomorrow, Insomniac is doing a 12 o'clock Spider-Man, where is it? Is it right here? Celebrate the 4-year anniversary of Marvel's Spider-Man turning into Insomniac's Twitch channel tomorrow at noon. This is going to be a lunch with Jaffe tomorrow at about 11:45. We'll kick it off. It's Cult of Calypso members and higher. We will be live streaming this, talking about this, eating lunch, and we will also be picking the movie for Pot and Popcorn coming up in the next 5 to 10 days. I'll be showing you some trailers. We'll vote and make a decision. That is Cult of Calypso and higher and mods tomorrow in the Discord starting about 11:45. I'll drop a link, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's talk Spider-Man. Millier, I don't know who Millier is. Well, look at that. We got JW Conglomerate. Before we get into Spider-Man, he gets a smoke in the old bubbly. That makes no sense at all. There you go, baby. Thank you for upgrading to the Cult of Calypso membership. I appreciate that, man. It's very generous, very kind, very courteous. Makes me tingle in the nether regions and makes me want to smoke my pipe. Thank you, buddy. Thank you very, very much, JW, for that upgrade. I appreciate it. It looks good on you. Listen to this. I don't know who Millier is. Millier says Spider-Man 2, this is what she tweets. Spider-Man 2 for PS5 is, quote, exceeding expectations for Marvel higher up. She's got the skinny. I don't know where she's getting it from. If you look at her bio, she entertainment media data analyst is what her job is, okay? She says the fluidity and visual punch from what she hears is striking, according to an employee of Marvel. Another employee thought they were watching a cutscene. Gameplay to be shown soon, okay? Now, what does soon mean? I think we have two options. The first one is we'll be seeing it tomorrow as the Cult of Calypso members, because this is happening tomorrow. We might have seen Spider-Man 2 footage by this time tomorrow. So that's exciting. The other possibility is, if you didn't know this, D23 is Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, the theme parks, the cartoons, the Disney Plus, all that shit. The whole thing, they have a convention every couple of years, D23. D23 basically stands for 1923, which was the year Walt Disney and his brother arrived in California from Missouri? Melcene? I don't fucking know. It starts with an M. And became a legend, blah, blah, blah. But some of this is live streaming. And one of the things that is live streaming that I will be live streaming is the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase. Here, let me read it to you. It's a 40-minute showcase this Friday that'll be live streamed on this very here channel. Tune in to Disney and Marvel Games Showcase for announcements, trailers, and reveals for new and upcoming games from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Fox. So they could show Spider-Man here. My understanding is they've confirmed they will be showing Amy Hennig's new game. I don't know if she's directing it, but it's for the studio she's running in Los Angeles. It's pretty much pointing to Fantastic Four. Kevin Smith kind of leaked or almost leaked it about 3 months ago on his show, and it sounded like, based on the leak and going back through the chat, it could have been Fantastic Four or Ant-Man. I really wish it would have been Ant-Man, but you know, whatever. Fantastic Four looks like we'll be seeing at least something from that come this Friday, if indeed this is Amy's game, which is what they say is happening. So that will be coming up on Friday, so hopefully I'll see you there as well. But somewhere soon, you will be parked in front of a computer screen and you will be watching brand new Spider-Man 2 footage. How exciting is that? It's about time. It's about cock-a-doodle time. Sony needs to show something. It's been a while. We need something. We'll talk about their God of War reveal in just a couple of minutes. Brian E. says, knowing Insomniac, the hype and expectations are off the chart for me. Yeah, I mean, all I can tell you is I liked Miles Morales a lot more than Spider-Man, and I loved Spider-Man. So I'm very eager to see if this one even takes it to the next level for me. But you know, we'll see. Morgan says Fantastic Four. Ew, I don't want to see that. Why? I mean, look, the Fantastic Four have some okay powers, but I'm with you. I'd rather see Ant-Man because I think the constant shifting of scale in real time can make for some really cool, interesting gameplay. I don't necessarily think, you know, stretching isn't really going to be stretching. They're not going to give you the ability to stretch into whatever you can create. There's going to be predetermined shit and distances. Invisible Woman is great stealth. You know, Human Torch is just a projectile guy, and the Thing is a tank. And God, I hope it's going to be a single player story game. I hope it's not another one of these fucking 4-player co-op bullshit things where it's the Fantastic Four going around fighting robots. Please don't be that. Amy, you know better. Don't do that, please. But we'll be seeing something pretty fucking soon. Ravno says Fantastic Four is boring. I collect comics there, yawn. I've read Fantastic Four since I was a kid. I've watched the cartoons. I've even watched a little bit of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie. Is terrible. But I like the comic, but you know, it's not as interesting as some of their newer stuff. I don't think. Yeah, Ultra Awesome says Fantastic Four has been irrelevant since the 70s. I think unless the MCU comes along and kind of gives it a shot, which I'm sure they know that, I think it'll stay irrelevant because, yeah, these days, I think if it wasn't for them being sort of the first big Marvel breakout, Marvel's first family, Stan Lee's big breakout hit, nobody would be giving a fuck about the Fantastic Four. Okay, but there you go. Let's see what happens. Let's cross our fingers for some good news. Okay. Okay, somebody's hoping multiplayer for Spider-Man. Angel Perez says, I hope multiplayer. See, I like the idea of saying, oh, it's multiplayer. You can be Spider-Man and I'll be Miles Morales Spider-Man. But I don't know if I really want to play that because I don't know how you feel about it. But whenever I play multiplayer games, even if they're narrative-based, like we played on this very stream, in one session, we played Hivebusters, me and some members of the stream, the Gears of War expansion Hivebusters. Really fun, looked great. Compelling from start to finish. A really good piece of DLC, whatever the fuck it was called, expansion. But I never felt immersed in it because when you're playing with friends and teammates, you immediately transcend the immersion and it's a sport. You're trying to figure out how to solve the problem. And in that, I want to get lost in the Marvel world. I don't really want to sit around worried about, dude, go over there and fucking web that thing and I'll punch him. It's like, no thank you. No, thank you. But we'll find out. We'll find out pretty soon. Maybe even tomorrow. This time we'll know. Allow us to move on with our goddamn cockadoodle lives and talk about God of War. So let's get the elephant in the room out of the room. The elephant in the room is that today we got our second drop. I'll put it on while we're talking. We got our second drop of footage from Game Informer. The other day they put up some combat, very little new stuff, a couple of shots. Today they're putting up this. There's a handful of new shots in here. And people have written me and said, Jaffe, do you think this suggests, in fact, somebody wrote me earlier in this very stream in the chat and says, does this suggest a problem? You know, that we are basically a couple of months out and this footage we're getting is fine. But there's not, did Sony screw the pooch? And I don't think so. I think Sony knows the value of getting the only print magazine left in America, which has a very high distribution rate, which is Game Informer, giving them something exclusive. Clearly people are talking about it. I did think this was pretty cool that he can freeze geysers with the axe and use them as platforms and shit. But I think, Sony's going to have something to say when they drop their own official showcase for this game. I don't know when it's going to be. A lot of people have been speculating it was supposed to be announced or be the 8th of this week. But, I don't know. I don't know. So, but we will see. But I don't think the narrative of, oh no, Sony screwed up because look what Game Informer showed everyone. I don't think that's an accurate concern. I think if this is the kind of stuff you see when they do their showcase, sure. I would then be concerned. Eric says, is this a good marketing strategy? It makes no sense. Sure, it makes sense. What doesn't make sense about it? They're basically saying, hey, here's, a magazine exclusive with a distribution in the, I don't know what it is anymore, but it's quite huge for a video game magazine in America. And we'll get people talking, and in a couple weeks we'll show up with the showcase and we'll really blow them out of the water. So, and I don't think it looks bad. I just think it looks very, they were just kind of showing off the art. They weren't, and the art looks fine, but I don't think you look at this art and go, oh my fucking God, right? You don't do that. You don't do that either at a level of people say if you watch it in HDR 4K, it looks better. Of course it does, but you don't do that at a level of technical execution, and you also don't do that, or at least I don't do that at a level of conceptual execution. Like this city we're looking at right here, if you're listening to the podcast, I appreciate it. Thank you. You can't see what we're looking at, but it's kind of like a quarry with a bunch of dwarven wood structures built to allow them to sort of mine the mountains and shit. And it's fine. It looks fine, but you don't look at it and go, whoa, that's fucking clever. That's fucking cool. So, I don't think anyone has anything to worry about. I don't think it's a bad look for Sony. I think Sony's going to blow out the doors when they basically kick this off whenever that showcase is, and hopefully soon. Yeah, so Zaf says the detail is amazing. He did wow at it. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't, there's nothing I would say about this footage or these images that make me say, oh, that looks bad. Of course not. It looks really good. But it doesn't, let's put it this, okay, here's what I'd say. When they showed, from the very beginning up until they showed the other day, the very beginnings of Callisto Protocol, which is one of my most, if not my most anticipated games of the holiday season. From the very first thing they showed, I was, oh, wow. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I want to do that, right? Everything I've seen in God of War is more, oh, that looks really well done. That looks really polished and nice, and I'm sure it's going to be fucking great because the last one was fucking great, and I think the world of Eric Williams' talent and that team. But if I didn't have that data and I was just looking at it, I would say, oh, okay, we'll wait and see. See, it looks pretty. But I know a lot of people on this chat don't like it when I say that because I guess I can't have an opinion that goes against something you're excited for, which seems incredibly childish to me, but there we are. There we are, fellas and fillettes. But again, though, I think we're going to be singing a very different tune when Sony drops their showcase and blows people's fucking minds. I really do think that. But I agree with Bob right now. Bob says it doesn't look epic. Yeah, right now, it's just like, okay, that looks cool. Yeah, a vertical slice is not the full game. Of course not. But this is what they're choosing to show. And maybe in that sense, Eric is right. I don't think the marketing is fucked up, but I think you do have to question, why are they showing this? Like, even if they're going to show very little, show something that's like pops your brain. Oh, fuck, that's cool. Let me ask you guys something. Have you guys seen anything from any of the God of War Ragnarok footage so far that made you go, oh, that's fucking cool? Right? Like when I watched all the kills in Callisto, I go, ooh, that's fucking cool. When another game that I was anticipating and ended up loving, I haven't finished it yet though, was Mortuary Assistant. And even though the graphics didn't make you go, whoa, that's cool, the fact that you could sit there and wire someone's corpse's jaw shut by jamming wire into its fucking gums was like, okay, that's cool, right? I'm excited for it. And I'm excited for it because the team has credit in the bank and the franchise has credit in the bank for me. But I'm not excited for it in the sense that if I just saw this and I was coming from Mars and I'd never heard of God of War, I would go, okay. Right? I mean, nobody in the chat seems to be like, no, I've seen this amazing stuff, Jeffy. I went, ooh, when I saw this. I love the mutation feature in Callisto. Yes, especially the fact it's represented by tentacles. Yeah, I mean, even that when they explain it, when they finally explained it, it's like, when you see those tentacles busting out of the monster's chest or head or anywhere, the nice thing is it forces you to aim in different parts of the body and not just about shooting the limbs off anymore. But those motherfuckers, if you don't get them fast enough, and hopefully this won't be for every enemy because it might get repetitive, but there are enemies that if they mutate, they get stronger, faster, meaner, more aggressive in their AI. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting mechanic. And that's an interesting way to tie the mechanic to the visual. I'm totally with you. Totally with you. Brett Williams says, I love this because I love God of War, but I don't expect it to change the game. That wouldn't make sense. I don't need to change the game. I don't think Callisto Protocol, oops, did I give something away? I don't think Callisto Protocol changes the game. I think it looks like a very generic game, but it's insanely well imagined and executed. That's what's sexy about that game, not the fact that it's different. This is lacking right now a conceptual kick. You want to be like, whoa, that's fucking cool. And I haven't seen it yet. Have you heard anything about this game from someone at Sony? No, I mean, everything I've heard about this game, honestly, 90% of what I've heard about this game from people at Sony is a guy no longer at Sony who came into the chat, Max Ankar, who worked on this game. And he says, the combat is better. I believe him. The story is better. I believe him. The game is longer. He said it's about 40 hours long. And he says it's fucking great, better than the first game. I believe Max. Max is one of the most hardcore gamers I've ever met. So that I'm not worried about this game. I'm just saying right now what they've shown is like, but I think all that really does is make the reveal when they do kind of open the kimono. It's going to be a lot more exciting. Leo says, you know damn well when we fight Fenrir, that's going to be amazing. I don't know who the fuck Fenrir is. One thing I'll tell you, man, when I watched this earlier today, they're talking about the guys at Game Informer were narrating it, and they're talking about God of War Ragnarok will take you to the previously unreachable Vanaheim Svartalfheim. I know Asgard. There's like all these fucking Norse mythology names, and I'm just like I don't know the fuck you're talking about. I know who Medusa is, right? Because that's a little bit more baked into the culture of America anyway. We're, you know, from Jason the Argonauts and all that shit and Clash of Titans. But in terms of, you know damn well we'll be excited when we fight Fenrir. Who the fuck is Fenrir? Is that the giant? I mean, here's what I'll tell you. Is he the wolf? Okay, here's what I'll tell you. I don't give a fuck about how he looks, because right now you're not going to be really competing that well with From Software. They do some of the coolest enemy design out there. But if they show it, their showcase coming up, which you know they're going to be doing one, this thing doing cool, badass stuff, awesome. I'm there, man. I'm totally there. Okay. Corey is upset about, I haven't talked to Corey in a long time. Somebody said, what is Corey upset about? I don't know what you're talking about. I did see the leaks on the new God of War. Yes, I did. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone that are out there. I don't really care about leaks. So, and frankly, that leak was like, oh, what a surprise. I mean, it's the most obvious thing that it's not even a leak. It's kind of like saying, I don't want to get close to spoiling it. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, I did read the link. The leak of the. I clicked the link of the leak. Yes, of course you fight Thor. Of course I know that. There's no feud between me and Will Wright. I've met Will Wright once in my entire life. I don't even know the guy. Oh, he's upset about the leaks. Oh yeah, well sure, why not? Sure he is. But it's not going to affect anything. It's not going to affect sales. I mean, unless, you know, Kratos takes a golf club to the head. Yes, I'll be playing Starfield day one, Adam. I'm excited for it. Did any of my games ever get leaked, says Jimmy McGilchrist? No. The closest it came, so did Corey. Like, if you watch that Raising Kratos documentary where they dropped Corey off behind the shrine because they didn't want anybody to see him going in because they would speculate. They pulled that off really well. We did that with Twisted Metal 2012. I remember, you can still find it on the internet because my wife at the time texted me and I was like, oh, that's so fucking TMZ and weird. But she sent me, a friend of hers had sent her a picture of me in the lobby of the W. And someone had said, oh, we have a Jaffe spotting. And I was saying online I wasn't going to go to E3. And this guy started, it was a very small thing, so it didn't catch on. But yeah, we were very scared that it was going to leak about an hour before the actual show. But no, nothing like that. I had issues with Raising Kratos, the documentary, Brian East. I thought it was a beautifully done promotional piece. It was wonderfully produced, wonderfully shot, very entertaining. But I thought it lacked a level of realness that I think, for me personally, in my documentaries, I like to see more. But I get, as a PR piece, which is what it was great. It was great. Okay, let us move on, my friends. Oh yeah, this was Robert Ragnarok. He's the one who asked me on Twitch, Twitter. He says, as creator of the series, do you think marketing by Sony in Santa Monica for Ragnarok is good? I think it's more than fine. I don't think they have to do anything. I think fans want to see more stuff, but what, you're not going to buy it because you haven't seen more stuff? If they wait a day before it comes out, most people will still go buy it. Hello, Trey Trimble. Most people will still go buy it. Eric Lennon says, what was not real about the documentary Raising Kratos? Well, look, whenever you let's just put it, if nothing else, whenever you put music in a documentary, you're already stepping over the line for me. You're already manipulating the emotion of the player or of the viewer in order to get them to feel something that wasn't necessarily actually there. Now, some directors would tell you, yes, but that was there, and that's the way that we can shortcut it to the audience. But yeah, sure. But more often than not, that's the way that you can manipulate the audience into feeling a certain way that has nothing to do with really the reality you claim to be trying to document. The best part about Raising Kratos in terms of how it deals with that issue was when Corey was in his car and he was talking about him being really nervous and stressed, and he was just shooting it on a cell phone. There was no music in the background, and it was like, that's real. Because I've been there. I know that feeling is real. There was nothing sweetening up the scene, nothing sweetening up the emotion. It was just real. And I get it. It's a puff piece. Why would you, I understand why it was the way it was. I'm just saying that's why I didn't care for it as much as I wanted to, because I don't think it was a genuine reflection of what development is. Although there was obviously truth in there. You can get one of these hats right here, Jamie, if you go to the link tree below and go to the merch store. You can pick up one of these nice snazzy hats for yourself. The ladies love them. And it drops a piece of gold out every night before you go to bed. Both of those things, one of those things is definitely alive. The second thing I couldn't tell you because, no one's ever come up to me and said, I love your hat, let's fuck. Let's move on, shall we? Cyberpunk drops some data today, which man, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to play you a little clip right now. Then we'll talk about it. This was the director of Cyberpunk, not the core game, but the expansions and the DLC and all the updates and all that. He's the new game director on this, okay? Dylan says, I would get one of these hats, but I don't want to get laid too often. I understand. The first thing he was asked, because Cyberpunk CD Projekt Red did a Dog and Pony today on YouTube, and this is some of the key bits from it. Hello, Salty's Gaming. So he was asked, how do you think Cyberpunk is like right now because there was a patch that went out today. Let me play you what he said about his take on Cyberpunk as it stands at the moment, as of this morning.
I think Cyberpunk 2077 can be kind of fully experienced as intended for the world, this characters, enjoying the story, that kind of stuff. Being able to get new apartments and customize them to some extent. A bunch of different little things like cleaning up the map, the user experience, getting rid of some of the pain points in general. Just to kind of smooth out the experience and getting the architecture in place for future updates. The actual sort of next-gen kind of fidelity with the different visual modes and stuff like that. Beautiful, very dense Night City and very moody Night City, being able to experience in the next-gen consoles as well as PC. Hugely beautiful.
Okay, so look. I see some of you guys in the chat like Cybertrash. I will tell you, and I'm going to show some more of this in a second, but I loved this game. Now, I did not play it I did play it for about 3 hours when it first came out because I wanted to test Stadia, and it played great. But I got it when it dropped on PS5 with the updates a couple of whatever it was, 6 months ago or whatever. And that's when I really got into it. I need to go back and finish it, but I've committed to finishing Elden Ring first. I absolutely loved it. I just fell in love with it. I thought it was immersive. I thought the world of Night City was great. I thought the characters and the story was really cool that I played. It really felt like a real world. Now, if you were one of those people, and I wasn't, I was like, thematically I was in, but I didn't pay much attention to what they were promising. If you were one of those people that was like, I was promised that I should be able to do everything. I should be able to buy an apartment and sell the apartment and open a store. And I don't know what people were expecting. And I don't mean that like people had dumb expectations. Maybe they were sold on those dumb expectations because that's what CD Projekt Red told them. But since I went in without any of that, I fucking loved it. I had a great time. I even really liked the fact that the core path was very well done and very scripted. And it wasn't like, I didn't feel, there were some, but I didn't feel as much open world fatigue as I do in a lot of games. Like, oh, let me go do these 30 fetch quests. Now let me go do these 20 it felt more like a better play between the core story and the open world aspect. So I loved it, right? So, yeah, Arthur Morgan says Cyberpunk is great until you start to scratch the surface. What do you mean by that? Jimmy McGilchrist says we wanted a game that wasn't broken, Jaffe. I don't know what you played it on. I didn't have any real game breaking bugs. I'm not saying they weren't there. Of course they were there. But my experience playing on Stadia and then my experience playing on PS5 when they dropped the patch was great. Yeah, Bobbernick, you're in the wrong chat, bitch. He says gameplay was bad. You only like interactive movies because you're old. I hate interactive movies. The gameplay I did not think was bad at all. Frank says it seems developers got rid of player choice way too much in that game. But what do you mean? Like, what did you want to do in that game that you weren't able to do in that game? Like, what choices did you want? I mean, did you want to have more play over the story? Like, if you betrayed someone, it sent the story off in a totally different direction, like As Dusk Falls. I mean, As Dusk Falls looks the way it does. And if you don't know, that's kind of the sort of Xbox version of Detroit Become Human, but not as good by any means, where they have lots and lots of choices and branches of the story. But that comes at a cost. You're not going to get that at the fidelity of Cyberpunk for a long time. Certainly not until you have the AI helping to write and craft some of these missions in real time. Silver Joystick says As Dusk Falls is actually an excellent game. I love the game of it. And I love the genre of it. I thought the story and the art style were a little bit of a letdown, I guess is what I would say. I wish the world had more things to do in it, says Darth Nugget. And that cop system was a lot better. Otherwise, I loved everything. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I can tell you I loved it. I hear that you didn't. A lot of you didn't, but I thought it was fucking great. Let me tell you what's in a patch. A patch just dropped today. And whether or not you're interested in the game, the anime, hey, Jamie Gonzalez ponies up the ducat, says, I want a hat just like you, Jaffe. Thank you for purchasing a hat from the merch store, buddy. I appreciate it. You're doing the Lord's work because I want you to call me if you get laid wearing that hat, or at least get to the process of getting laid. You don't have to keep the hat on. Once you're in, you're in. Literally. Anyway, yeah, that's right. So the anime on Netflix, I don't know if it's good or not, but it looks fucking great, like visually. So today's patch, this is what is in today's patch. If you go right now and play Cyberpunk 2077, first you're going to get all those improvements over the last year, and then you get this stuff. He's talking about the patch right now.
It takes place during the same kind of timeline. They don't cross paths, but we do have a quest that kind of seeds in some of the stuff and some of the Easter eggs from the anime. You'll be able to get a weapon inspired by the anime as well, which is fun. So a number of different kind of Easter eggs and kind of tie-ins in that way. Wardrobe, that's the big one, right?
Nice.
AKA transmog, AKA being able to completely customize and tailor your outfits as you want to roleplay. Slot by slot to kind of override the visuals of what you currently have equipped. We also updated the Ripper docs that you can go to them and do some resculpting of your face, resculpting of your body. We added new options in entirely for all this stuff, as well as some of the cosmetics and hair and stuff like that you can still do at your mirror. You can also do that at the Ripper doc as well.
Okay, so what I'll say on this is somebody's like, oh yay, Barbie dress up. It's not new skin. So first off, I don't know where, it's like the word biome, right? I don't know where the word transmog comes from. But when I was playing it 6 months ago, I was like, man, I've even though it's a first-person game, I've gotten some really cool visual gear, and I hate the fact that the stats of the player or of the gear is associated with the fashion wardrobe, right? And so people are like, wait, they're going to do transmog. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? But so my understanding is it's not just new skins, it's the fact that you can now wear whatever you want. And I know some people don't give a fuck. You can wear whatever you want, but the stats stay with you. So if you found a hat that makes your invisibility cyber hack 20% stronger, and then you found a hat that's like a crazy sci-fi future hat that you want to wear, you can pop that on and you'll still get the gameplay benefits. So Mike Frail says transmog sounds like a word you'd get fired for saying. That's right. What's the point if it's not third person, says Najez. And Jimmy Gilchrist said the same thing. All I can tell you is I don't know. Your point makes all the sense in the world. I get why you would say that. I would have said that. But when I played Cyberpunk, I don't know why. Maybe it was just that I don't know why, because you do see your character sometimes. But I valued the way she looked. And I don't know what the game did to make me care about that. Yeah, Arthur Morgan says transmog is important, but again, it should have been there from day one. It's been 2 years. Sure. I mean, again, yeah, Salty says the same thing. And so does Bob. You can't see your character. I know. There's nothing you're saying I disagree with, but that said, it works. Now, they also announced an expansion today. Oh, by the way, the other thing is just real quick that you're going to get in the patch today if you give a shit. You're going to get the wardrobe. You're going to get new outfits tied to the anime. There's 3 new gigs. Somebody in the chat, I think it was CR3D, just said he's been playing one of them, and they're really, really, really good. Oh, my character is hot. Oh, fuck yeah. I was so bummed that I couldn't. There's a lady I met out in the desert, and I'm like, I'm gonna romance her into a sexy time. And she's like, yeah, no, I'm into the men folk. I'm like, damn, I wasn't strong enough. But Concrete Cage Trap, Desperate Measures, Nasty Hangover, 3 new gigs. You got 6 new weapons today, 5 new melee weapons today, and then there's just a bunch of other stuff. So, but that's the core, right? And then coming next year, and they have not announced when it's coming next year, is the Panam. Is that her name? Yeah, Panam. She was awesome. They have this. It's called, what are they calling it? Liberty Nights. Okay, goddamn, what's it called? It's called Phantom Liberty. Yeah. Get ready for Phantom Liberty, spy thriller expansion for 2077, set in an all-new district of Night City. It also has a whole new set of characters, but Keanu's back with Johnny Silverhand. It looks cool. So, you know, okay, so this was my types in the chat. The reality is a game that was meant to be complete day one is now a live service title, says Luke. I think, honestly, that's more what people are annoyed about. People are more annoyed about the fact that the game shipped too early. And I get it. And the game promised things that weren't there. And I get it. You know, I'll play this when we're talking. I absolutely understand why that would be frustrating. But the fact of the matter is, though, that I don't care. I mean, I don't mean that like you're wrong and I'm right. I just mean that like, I have a million things to play. I love the theme of this game. I love the look of this game. I loved it when I did eventually play it. And so, you know, Bob says it looks good, but now we've moved on. Well, great, but that's your problem because you're missing out on a really fucking great game. And if you do it because you're stubborn, that's fine. If you want to plant a flag in the ground and say, fuck you, CD Projekt Red, you're never getting any more of my money. And that is how you do it. You vote with your wallet. I respect that. But what I'm telling you is there's a really fucking good game out there if you like the cyberpunk aesthetic, and I do. And I'm enjoying the fuck out of it. So, you know, it is what it is. Every game's always unfinished, though. Luke says, I like the game, but it's still unfinished. I mean, yeah. But let me tell you, here I'll play this last thing, then we're going to move on. I want to tell you what he said about the expansion coming in just a couple of, coming next year sometime. Here we go.
Hugely requested feature from the community is coming up, and that is a complete overhaul to the cop system as well as vehicle-to-vehicle combat. It gives you a whole new feel and dimension and immersion to the city and enjoying Night City. New kind of gameplay loop for melee, a bunch of new actions in the perk tree, more cyberware feeling cyberware, a lot of fun things that the team really kind of wants to get out there to the community and working hard on.
So play it, don't play it. I'll be playing it and streaming it. I'm a big fan. The DLC does look cool. And more importantly, the anime. Go watch the trailer for the anime. Whether you like the fucking game or not, the anime it looks fucking cool. It reminds me of like 90s anime, Ghost in the Shell kind of stuff. Not in terms of the intelligence of that story from the manga, but just the art style and sort of the energy of it with the combat and the guns and shit. It's pretty fucking cool. Citizen Sleeper Jake Z I have, but it looked like there was just like a lot of reading. Isn't it almost like a visual novel at this point? Okay. In just a second, we're going to talk about Matt Booty. Matt Booty is the head of production over at Xbox. He did, PAX was just this last week. He did Story Time, which is the big keynote. I've done one of those before. It was a lot of fun. And he did one. You can watch the whole thing on Twitch. It's very much worth watching. We're going to talk about some of the key things he said over there, and if you believe some of them, especially based on some new news that has come out about Perfect Dark today and yesterday. But that said, though, first I just want to turn you on to some very important things. The number one thing right now at the top, the break is the Elitist Podcast. The Elitist Podcast is a podcast from our God of War members, and it is awesome. It is, you have to just hang with me for a minute. It is a podcast where they play games about video games. So if you think you know more than the average bear about Mario's history, the lore of Mortal Kombat, the music of Square, tune into this great podcast, give it a listen, see if you can beat the masters at their own game. I've been on it a couple of times as a contestant. I can't wait to go back again. That's the latest podcast. You can find it down on the link tree below. Also, real quick, my good buddy, Day One Patch Kids is out there. They make stickers and shower curtains and t-shirts and mugs and clocks and everything with these fucking weirdo, awesome, beautiful characters. You can see, you guys have been seeing me at the bottom of the screen sometimes sitting on a couch. That's done by Rotten Tanuki as well. That's a Day One Patch Kid version of Jaffa. You can get all these great video game characters done in the Day One Patch Kid style in all kinds of different items and objects. Perfect for Halloween, for booing people, perfect for obviously the Christmas season coming up. Go and visit those guys as well. You can find these guys at the link tree below. Okay. Listen to me. We're going to talk about Matthew Booty. Matty the Booty. Come on now. You know what's funny about Matt Booty's name is obviously his name's funny now. But if his name was Matt Booty back in like the 1700s and the 1600s and there were pirates and shit, he'd be the coolest motherfucker on the planet because his last name was Booty. Now it's like Matt Booty got it. Like if Matt Booty's in a meeting with Phil Spencer, and he's like, hang on, Phil, before we make the call, I just got to run to the restroom real quick. And Phil Spencer's like, Matt Booty, gotta go tootie. John says, would calling Matt Booty be considered a booty call? I'm sure he hears that 10 times a day, but it's good. It's a good one. I like it, John. I like it. All right, so Matt Booty does story time. I'm going to play you some of these key moments. And card golf. You mean what's that game called? Turbo Golf. Oh, it's great. It's fucking great. Okay. Here's some of the key moments. I'll pause in between the key moments. We'll talk about them. Here we go. This is the intro. This is where I forget what her name is. She was pretty good. She's a pretty good host. And she's asking him about his job. Here we go. This is Matt Booty.
Now you have 23 game studios beneath you. What do you do in a normal day? People laugh up front.
My boss asks that often. What exactly do you do?
Why are we paying you, Matt?
My main job is to make sure that all of the creative people, all of the programmers and artists, everybody in our studios have got the things that they need to make great games. Like, that's my job. So do they have the support they need, the resources they need, the budget they need? In terms of support, there's some aspect of my job which is helping keep the game kind of protected until it's ready to show, until it's ready to get reviewed and critiqued, right? There's an aspect of that. You know, the best part of my job is when I get to spend time in the studios and when we get to visit. Also doing game reviews. This last month, we did a big review with the Forza Motorsport team. That game's looking amazing. We spent the day over at Undead Labs looking at State of Decay 3. So that is like, those are the moments that I love the most. And then there's some stuff that honestly isn't super exciting, but is part of the job. And there's an aspect, too, of being part of Phil Spencer's leadership team.
Okay, so a couple of things about this so far. So right, Silver Joystick says Michael Pachter said he was a stud. Right, I mean, here's the first thing I'll tell you. After I watched this interview, or this story time, keynote, whatever it was, I felt conflicted. I had a little bit of an existential crisis because I was like, you know, I give this guy a lot of shit because I think he is currently a big reason that Xbox is not. Now, again, I don't have boots on the ground. I don't fucking know. I'm just going with my experience in the industry and my own fucking eyes and ears and ability to read the lines themselves and between the lines. And the buck stops, or it should stop, with him, and he's in charge of all these studios, and their output has been anemic at best. Even though the quality of a lot of their stuff has been really good, it's insane from day one when they couldn't launch with a launch title to what's happening with Halo that we'll talk about in a second. It's just been a little weird. So I've laid into this guy, and I've laid into Phil Spencer as a fan of the Xbox and as a fan of the industry and as someone who is passionate about the industry. But when you watch this interview, it was tough because he comes off as a really nice guy. And I was like, my God, I'm being, and you really have to start to question, is the job to separate the human from the executive? And it's like, I'm sure maybe Matt Booty and I could be best friends in real life, but I'm not talking about him as a human. I'm talking about him as the job that he does. So I can tell you I struggle with that for a little bit, because if you watch this story time with him at PAX, he comes off great. I've never really heard the guy talk this much. It's like, he seems like a real likable guy. And he goes into some of his history. And because at first I was like, well, maybe this guy's just not qualified. I mean, he's been in the industry longer than I was. He started in the arcade days. He ran development for Midway in that era where they had like PsyOps, The Wheelman, the Spy Hunter game with The Rock, NBA Ballers. You know, he wasn't in the trenches developing, but he ran product development. And then he ran Minecraft, not before they bought it, but once Microsoft bought it, he kind of ran that division. And at first I was trying to kind of find a pattern, like, you know, were a lot of his games when he was running Midway delayed? Well, some of them were. Not all of them, though, but some of them were. Were all of them external production? A lot of them were, but not all of them were. So it's just like, well, what is it that Phil Spencer would see in this guy to say, even after all these delays, you're the guy to get it done, right? And Pachter was talking about Booty's way of managing these teams. In fact, I'll let you know right now. He's going to talk about how he manages how he manages the teams at Microsoft and that are Microsoft studios, even if they're not on site. And he'll talk about Fable, Luke, in just a second. Here we go.
So in your role, how hands-on are you with your teams?
Well, not very, right? I mean, the magic happens in the studios, and our model is that we have really built studios around creative leaders, around game designers, around artists, and we empower them to make the decisions. So we try to let them make what they're passionate about. You know, there needs to be oversight, right? There's some, you know, we need to make sure there's accountability, certainly around how our teams are run, around the processes, there's gotta be oversight there. But on the creative side, we really try to just let the studios
Sounds like
go
you
do
just
that.
kind of nurture their environments and let them build what they want to build and do what they want to do for the most part.
Yeah, it's a good, great way to, it's a good word to put it. I mean, again, my job is support, make sure that they've got the resources so they can do their best work.
And again, I mean, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. I've talked about it, you know, ad nauseum. I'm very confused. You guys in the chat, I mean, I agree with that, which is, he's too laissez-faire. He's very hands-off. If the guy hadn't had much experience running product development, I would say that's a common mistake a lot of new managers make, which is, oh, we're all going to be friends and we're all going to get to kind of pitch in our ideas. And eventually, probably not even eventually, very quickly, you get that beaten out of you that this is not, you know, it is a... ideally it is a kind dictatorship. It is not a democracy. But the guy's had tons of experience in the industry, so that can't be it. So the idea, I agree. I mean, I don't know why they don't recognize this as a problem, but let's keep going because he talks a little bit more. Talks a little more about this.
Let's talk about a topic that I think needs to be brought up, and that is game delays. So I can't tell you.
Does it need to be brought up?
You know, it does. This is story time with Matt Booty. I can't tell you how many times I've been told making games is hard. I would love to hear some insider knowledge from you. Can we blame all of this on COVID that's happening? Because we're seeing a lot of delays lately. Or is there something else going on? Give us some insider knowledge.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, there's some factors. First, we're still on the front edge of a new console generation, right? And the teams are still figuring out things like ray tracing. And now, as games get more heavy into things like simulation, and even some of the graphics workload are actually more on the CPU side. So now we've got teams trying to sort of back up and figure out, what am I gonna move over to the CPU? How do I balance between those two things? We're still wrestling with that. Another thing is that some of the processes that we have not really kept up with how quickly we can make content. So one of those.
Okay, before we get to what he's going to say next, the fact that he's saying the guy was a coder. He coded sound engines back at Midway. Okay, he's clearly a really smart guy, and he's clearly smarter than me when it comes to the tech. But he's talking about this like ray tracing is some unicorn that the team is trying to get their hands around, or, you know, offloading processing to the CPU instead of the GPU like it was in the previous generation is some kind of brand new thing. It's like, you're not wrong. Every generation brings with it new technical challenges, but so many other teams have solved this or have learned how. It's like, why is it that Xbox seems to be the only teams that are struggling with these issues in a way that causes them such consistent delays? I don't understand. What he says here, though, has made some news, and I do think it's very interesting. Listen to this.
This is testing. Every single time anything new goes into a big game, the whole game has got to be tested front to back, side to side. You know, my dream, there's a lot going on with like AI and ML right now and people using AI to generate all these images. What I always say when I bump into the AI folks is, help me figure out how to use an AI bot to go test a game. Because I would love to be able to start up 10,000 instances of a game in the cloud, deploy an AI bot to spend all night testing that game, and in the morning we get a report. Because That would be, transformational. Another one is just as games have become more complicated, there's just more interaction. There's more systems interact. As games just get more and more complex, it just becomes harder to bring all those pieces together without unintended interactions or things breaking. The last thing I'll say is just how we make games is evolving, right? The idea of a single team under one roof really doesn't happen that often anymore. So I'll use an example, our Perfect Dark team down in Santa Monica, the initiative.
We'll pause here for a second. The QA thing is interesting because everybody gets on me whenever I say QA is replaceable. Everyone's replaceable, right? I mean, all you have to do is look at the fucking AI art programs that now I saw one that animates, which is wonderful. We got to all figure out how to make a living when the robots take over, but what it's going to get you is your custom game every time you sit down to play it. We won't live to see it at that level, but anyway, yeah, AI QA, I agree. I think how amazing. How fucking amazing. That was always the dream. We never really articulated it, but we would go home at night when we were in testing or our games were in test going, God, it would just be so great because you come in the next morning and you know what to look for. Where can I bust out of the level? Why is it crashing here? When did it crash and what exactly caused the crash? And the fact that you have to have humans go through over and over and over to try to replicate the exact thing the code was thinking that you have no clue really, except a vague one, what caused the code to get stymied is insane when you think about it. So I agree with him on that. But all the other stuff that he's saying, whether it is back to the ray tracing or when he's talking about, no teams under the same roof, it's almost as if he just started being involved in production. And I know that's not the case, but Drawn to Death was a team of 30 people and we were outsourcing all over the world. Teams have been outsourcing to different studios since the ones I remember, the big ones are Rockstar with GTA and the Ubisoft teams. They're still the core team, right? Naughty Dog outsources, Insomniac, Santa Monica, they outsource all over the place. There's a story eventually about Crunch. You know, talking about Crunch. Look at what's happening in Malaysia with a lot of these video game teams that are crunching, these freelance teams, and there's some shit going down there from what I understand. But regardless, though, he's saying all these things like, this is why we're getting delays. I'm like, dude, this is just production in 2022. Hell, this was production in 2013. I don't understand what this is. So here we go.
Studio working on Perfect Dark. So we just did this big partnership with Crystal Dynamics, right? And I read online like, oh, this must mean there's a problem or something. It's quite the opposite, right? You've got this veteran team at Crystal Dynamics, a big AAA team with over 100 people that becomes available. Of course we want to work with them, particularly if they've made a game like that before. And that's how we've done an awful lot of work. And that kind of...
Okay, I got to talk about this briefly. We'll come back to Matt. But so this is so weird what is happening with Perfect Dark. So Perfect Dark developer suffered departures due to leadership and cultural issues rumor. So Matt Booty says this, and then a bunch of people reach out to Video Game Chronicles Andy Robinson. And I'll just read you some choice bits. This is reporting from Gaming Bolt, but they're talking about VGC, which is a great website. Following game director Dan Newberger's leaving the project, this was a while ago, meaning leaving the initiative, reports emerged of numerous departures in the same window. These were reportedly due to disagreements with the studio's structure. Now, this is important because what Matt Booty's about to say doesn't... Let me just... Okay. There were reportedly disagreements with the studio's structure. One school of thought allegedly wanted to hire people, and the other wanted to stay small and build sort of high-quality indie games. This is from Windows Central Just Cord in that part. Basically, the people who decided to remain at the initiative and Microsoft clearly wanted to make, the big game. right? I mean, wanted to hire more people. VGC's Andy Robinson revealed the flood of departures very much as a sign of a problem. Speaking to many current and former employees, he revealed that the multi-studio setup hadn't caused issues since there was always the intention to partner with an experienced dev. Instead, many seemingly had issues with the initiative leadership. Now, I understand that this is the talking point. I don't remember if this actually was the talking point when the initiative started. Of like, they pitched it like they were building their own studio, development and everything. And then when you've got departures because some people wanted to make small indie games and some people wanted to make big games, you come to a studio and they say, oh, we're going to How would you know that Crystal Dynamics is going to suddenly come free? Crystal Dynamics that usually makes shit for Eidos? Really? Like, I don't have any data other than it just feels weird to me, this idea that they were going to build small games, they were going to build big games, they were going to partner with a big developer, like those just come around. So why even build the initiative at that point? They didn't pitch the initiative like we're only going to be the conceptual people. We have artists, we have designers, we have storytellers, we have a producer, and then we go out and find the people to make it. I've seen that business model somewhat work, right? Or that production model somewhat work, not often. But they didn't even pitch it that way. So I don't know if this is a little bit of going back into the past and, oh, we always meant to do that. Really? Really? Oh, I understand that there was a connection with Crystal Dynamics player. I understand that the studio head had worked for Crystal. I get it. But again, this was not Crystal Dynamics. Let's put it this way, if it was the plan from the very beginning, there's a lot of things that seem suspicious about that statement. Let's just say that. But it may not be suspicious. It just seems suspicious. I don't know. Okay. But anyway, people are saying the real issue is it was initiative leadership. The guy got a bunch of messages who reported this saying there have been cultural issues there. He said that few directly, now this was interesting though. He also said that few directly, meaning there weren't many people who directly blamed Xbox leadership. And he said it speaks volumes that many initiative leads have moved to other Xbox studios. So that's interesting that these guys who left were literally just like, no, it was an initiative problem. Although one could argue well, hang on. Crystal Dynamics is essentially leading the project. Again, that's so weird. Crystal is leading the project according to this reporting. I don't know what that means, but let's assume you take it at face value. They're leading the project. So we're the initiative. We hired all these people. We came up with the idea. We came up with the design. And we're so awesome at it that we always plan to hand it over to a team that would then take it away from us and they would lead it. It seems weird. How this may factor into issues with the initiative leadership is unknown, but there's seemingly more going on than suggested by Xbox head Matt Booty's recent statement. So we don't really know. It just sounds weird and suspicious. And even though it is good news for Xbox that these people go to other Xbox studios when they leave the initiative, there's problems in a lot of their fucking studios. So I'm sorry, it does have to come back to this guy. I think, let me get this super chat. I really appreciate it, buddy. This is from Arthur Morgan coming in. Thanks, buddy. He says, he says ray tracing is making games take longer to release when ray tracing is supposed to save devs time and not needing to add light boxes everywhere around the map, for example. I hear you. I've never worked on a game with ray tracing, so I don't know if maybe there's a lot of setup involved, but then once it's set up, you accelerate. Like the last thing it's not similar to ray tracing, but like, for example, there was a program called, I forget what it was called, but it was a really neat program that that automatically textured your levels, right? And it was like, it saved all this time from having to going in by hand, at least to do the initial couple of passes. But it took a long time to get up to speed for our artists to know how to use that program. But once you got to that level, then you were off like a rocket. So Arthur Morgan, I would say it may be a case like that, or maybe not. But all I'm just telling you is all these other teams in the world that are not having the same level of problems he's having, have have these same issues. They're dealing with the exact same problem. So I don't really get it. Sean says, Jaffe, not developing games under the same roof like they used to sounds like a recipe for disaster. This could be a big part of the reason why the studio and their projects are failing. No, it's not, Sean. This happens all the time. This happened, like I said, this happened on Drawn to Death, which was a tiny little team. This happens on every fucking game for the last 10 years. It's outsourcing. And again, this is development in 2022. This was development in 2013. If you're going to lead the pirates that are sailing on the sea, Matt Booty, because pirate anyway, these should not be roadblocks for you. These are things that seasoned production managers know how to deal with. Of course you have studios all over the world helping because you have thousands of people in some games. Literally, Call of Duty has 3,000 people working on the franchise at any one time. So I'm sorry, and they're not all in the same office. They're not all in the same goddamn office. Okay. Other thing I'll tell you on Perfect Dark is this was interesting. I saw this come out today. I don't know how real this is. It was just on Twitter. Somebody tweeted it. I figured I'd share it with you. I have no information, but it does kind of hold up. It does kind of make sense. Xbox exclusive Perfect Dark is a third-person shooter, goes the rumor. The reason they chose to work with Crystal is because they have experience with that kind of game that Perfect Dark is. I don't like this. It should have remained a first-person shooter. I don't know who this person is, but it got a little traction. There you go. I don't think, will there be some Perfect Dark fans that complain? Sure, who cares? They're not enough of them that if it's a great game, and it probably will be because it's Crystal Dynamics, I think all will be forgiven. And I'm looking forward to it. Sci-fi spies, come on, I love it. And I love Crystal as a developer. Absolutely. Perfect Dark, says Brett Williams, isn't even what they were working on in the first place. Fail. I don't know if that's fail. That's how you succeed, is you kill your darlings and you kill a bunch of things and you fail fast and you figure out what you want to make. Failing is good if you use it correctly. Okay, so Moat says Dylan is a widely respected Twitter user. I respect how Moat uses Twitter. Yeah, I don't know who they are, but cool. Okay. The last thing on Xbox, we're going to move on. Trey Trimble says, isn't the point of making another Perfect Dark to appeal to Perfect Dark fans, though? Yeah, but, I think it's been so long since it was really relevant that there's two kinds of Perfect Dark fans at this point. There are the Perfect Dark fans that look back at the brand with nostalgia, and they just want that feeling, or they remember a good feeling associated with the brand. I think that's most people. Then there are the people that are still like, no, remember the mechanic where she laid the mirror against the wall and you could reflect the light, I think those are the ones who might be disappointed, but I don't think you're dealing with a lot of them out there to make a difference, especially if the game will be better if this rumor is true, and Crystal is indeed making a game that's third person because they have that experience, right? Okay. Last thing on Xbox, we'll move on. Somebody was asking me, are we going to talk about this? What's there to talk about? It's just one more, it's just one more thing that they're fucking up. I'm excited for beta for Forge. I'm very excited for this. I love this game. I love the single player campaign. I'm excited to hear that there's a new narrative event coming sometime in the next year, or at least until summer. I mean, they're all they're giving us is like, what is it, 4 maps between now and summer? Come on, what are you doing? Fine, whatever. But Forge beta could really change the game, not because simply because I've seen some of the models that are some of the levels that people have built online. You can see them too, and they just look fun. And I love the way Halo Infinite plays in multiplayer and single player. But in multiplayer, it is absolutely enough. If somebody says, "Hey, there's a map in Halo where they rebuilt." I don't fucking know, the Titanic. Oh, let's go play Halo on the Titanic. That's the kind of shit that I'm very, very excited about. So, yeah, Forge looks nuts, says Angel. I agree. Yes, Thomas, of course I'm buying God of War Ragnarok when it comes out. Okay, let us move on with our conversation, shall we? Yeah, Forge looks great. I'm with you. You guys see this about Silent Hill? A couple of big... Silent Hill's weird, man. Let me tell you what I know. You guys have to have heard this, but yeah, that's true. Inksleeve says they literally, meaning Halo, put a new weapon as a feature 6 to 9 months out. Jesus, laugh my fucking ass off. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Silent Hill. Now, whether or not Silent Hill is still a valid brand, who knows? But there's clearly a lot of people who are excited. I was actually talking online to Dustin Furman, who works over with Colin at Sacred Symbols and Last Media, and he was playing Silent Hill 2 for the first time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back and finish Silent Hill 2, and then he and I are going to do a conversation show and talk about 2 new people in 2022 playing it for the first time, because I want to get a sense of what he thought. Because when I played it for like an hour, I was like, I can't fucking play this goddamn thing. This is too antiquated. But I want to give it a shot because I want to see how close his and my responses are. But anyway, there are 2 leaks going on when it comes to Silent Hill. As you know, Tokyo Game Show starts this week. The rumor, not even the rumor, Konami has come out and said we're going to announce a beloved franchise around the world. People at first speculated it was a big game. Now they're saying, oh, it might be a small game. Who knows? But we do know that Bloober team of Layers of Fear, Blair Witch Project, Layers of Fear 2, The Medium, they're not my favorite horror developer. That's for fucking sure. When they hit, though, they hit great. But they're doing one of them. That we know. And the visuals for that leaked, but people were a little... This, just so you know, what they came out and said is, yeah, this is from our demo that we made for Konami to get the rights, because they were looking for a developer in 2018. And they said, they sent it out to the developers or the publishers and said, hey, you know, we would very much like to find a developer to do this. And they sent this around and they said, yes, that's our game, but this is incredibly early. And so the image is leaked, but you know, if you like Silent Hill, it kind of looks like Silent Hill. And then this other one, which is Silent Hill Sakura, which I don't know what Sakura means in Japanese or in English. But this is also starting to leak. This is a concept art from it. I saw a rumor that there might actually be a demo, so like a PT style demo. But this is the Bloober team one, and then this is just concept art from apparently whatever this new Silent Hill Sakura is. It's downloadable only, PlayStation 5 exclusive. And it's just got this weird person with all these weird Post-it notes and shit. I don't fucking know. Dylan says, I don't know. It looks like a lot of ray tracing. It might be a while. That's true. That's absolutely true. So yeah, Tokyo Game Show starts, is it? Yeah, next Thursday start. Yeah. But Sakura is Cherry Blossoms. So Silent Hill Cherry Blossoms. Maybe it's like a working title. But you know, so we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But you know, one day maybe they'll announce something. I am curious what the reveal is going to be at TGS, because they have come out and said it's going to be a beloved. But what would it be? I mean, if it's smaller, what is it? Bomberman? Not another fucking Bomberman, right? Is it Russian Attack? Right? Maybe it's in the news again. Russian Attack? Maybe, I don't know. Tokyo Game Show is going to be showing off Wulong Fallen Dynasty, a new Gust art JRPG, both Final Fantasies, so much great Japanese developed games, says Morgan. Yeah, we will be doing a lot of streams from TGS. I think I might be out of town that week, but if I'm in town, we will be doing it. Sakura is meant to be a disconnected playable teaser like PT, says Luke. I don't know if that's true, but I have read things to suggest it is true and then is not true. So I maybe you know for sure, but there's been so much news about these leaks the last week that I have heard that there's a demo for Sakura, which will be a standalone game. There's a demo that's codenamed Sakura, which will be a demo for the Team Bloober game. and then the Sakura demo is just a demo. So I don't fucking know. I don't, because Konami hasn't talked and Team Bloober hasn't said anything other than saying, hey, this was early. We're all kind of just like, who the fuck knows what's going on? But no, yeah, Tokyo Game Show will be definitely interesting to keep an eye on what is happening. Listen to this. Listen to this. What did I say last week? Now I've enjoyed Saints Row, the new one. I get it, it's janky, but whatever. I made a review if you care, but I enjoyed it. It was stupid, it was fun, it was dumb. It scratched an itch I had. I'm happy I purchased it. Okay. Sorry, go back to Silent Hill. Luke says there's meant to be a mainline entry into the Silent Hill franchise, the SH2 remake and Sakura. Jesus Christ. How about you fucking put one of them out ever? But yeah, cool. I mean, we'll see what happens. But anyway, so I said though, it debuted in the UK physical charts last week at number 1. I was like, I guarantee you this will be down at number 9 next week. It didn't drop that low, but it dropped pretty bad. It came in at number 6. So let me tell you what you got. Saints Row dropped 80% in sales compared to last week. The Last of Us Part 1 sold half of what Saints Row did physically, but this doesn't include digital. And to be fair, it wasn't on the market for as long. Then you've got Konami's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection came in at number 3. That's pretty good. I hear it's not very good, but it's pretty good that it came in there. F1 Manager, number 4. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed opened at 16. That's not bad for that. I don't know if it's going to have legs. If it does, it might mean we get a new, Destroy All Humans, like a real sequel and not just a remake. We'll see. But so there you go. There's the charts there. Would you like to know? I bet you would. You guys know good and well that the Switch, the Steam Deck. Now, Michael Pachter said, and I don't disagree with him. I don't think the Steam Deck's ever going to give Switch a run for its money. But he did say, he says, yeah, but it's a blip. It'll be a nice niche console for people, but it's never going to change the fucking world. I think he's probably right, but it's still my understanding it's a great system. People love it. Here are the top 10 games for Steam Deck, if you were curious what's selling over there. For August, based on that number of hours played, that's a better metric. That's a much better metric to me as a designer and someone who loves the art form, is how long did the games keep you interested? Although then it kind of kills single player games, this chart. But anyway, it is what it is. Here's the chart. Number 10, Monster Hunter Rise. Number 9, Elder Scrolls 5. Number 8, Multiverses. 7 is Hades. That's a great toilet game. 6, No Man's Sky. 5, another great toilet game, Stardew Valley. 4, Spider-Man, remastered. 3, Elden Ring. 2, Cult of the Lamb. And number 1 is the clicker game, Vampire Survivors. There you go. Okay, one moment, please. You know what? We got a lot more news, but we'll save that till tomorrow. Let's chat for a couple minutes and let's wrap it up. We've had a nice, meaty, beefy stream. If you are one of our wonderful sponsors and you didn't hear your ad today, I recycle them out. So we'll get the different ads coming up on tomorrow's show or the Thursday show. So don't forget though, Lunch with Jaffe tomorrow, Cult of Calypso member or higher. That would be 11:45. We're going to start. We're going to watch the Insomniac Spider-Man special where they may reveal footage, and we're going to vote on the Pot and Popcorn next 2 double feature movies. Dungeons and Dragons sign up locks in tomorrow morning sometime. So if you want to play and you're a member, we're looking for 4 party members. We already have more than 4 people signed up, but it's going to be based on how high you are in the tiers in terms of what membership tier you are. So if you want to play with us, that's going to be this Sunday. Even if you don't play, we're live streaming it coming up on Sunday. You can watch it live if you're interested. Thank you for the super chat, Cosmic Limit. He says, if given the chance, would you remaster Twisted Metal 1 and 2? No. I've said numerous times, and nothing has come along that has really changed my view on it, which is I think ultimately the games don't hold up. There's too much expectation today, rightly so, of what it takes to be a shooter. And I think Twisted Metal for its time was amazing. And I'm very proud of the work we did. But I think you would have to make so many changes to it to make it relevant that I think I don't think it's the wisest business decision. No, I don't. So, all right, fellas, that has been Gabbin' Games for September, whatever this is, September 6th. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I sure appreciate it. Rob the Mod, thank you for being here. If I missed any mods today, Mr. K, thank you for modding. I want to say I saw some other mods up in that chat. I think I saw RPG. Thank you very much, RPG. I really appreciate it, you guys. You guys know I do. Maybe I'm going to be streaming some Elden Ring tonight, but regardless, lunch with Jaffe tomorrow, 11:45. It'll be on the Discord. Luke says I need to play Gloomwood. I saw that came into early access just yesterday. I will play it. Yes, Elden Ring, lunch with Jaffe tomorrow, D&D signups tomorrow. And Friday is the D23 live stream of the Marvel game show, where hopefully we'll be seeing Amy's new product, and which might be Fantastic Four, and some other things as well. All right, fellas. Trey Trimble says, I still get the same amount of enjoyment from Twisted 1 and 2 as I do from a game put out today. I wonder, though, how much of that's nostalgia, man. But maybe we'll hey, if someone can convince me, I've never heard a good reason to go back and do it. Like the video, share it, consider subscribing to the channel, consider becoming a member, whatever you want to do, as long as you like it. Just be safe, be well, be kind, and I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Bye, you guys.